I'm going to do some mailing envelopes, or if you wanted to make some envelopes for your junk journals, this is how I make them, and I think it's pretty fun. And with just a little bit of paint and whatever you have on your hands, like random magazines from the stores, or just something that you found, like a traveling booklet, newspaper, and random stuff. Basically, you can use anything or anything you want. You just need a few colors, and the cheapest ones are the best ones for this project. So I'm going to make some envelopes from this magazine that I already painted. So I've created some templates that you can actually find in my Facebook group, Starving Emma Outside the Box. I'm going to put the link down below. You can go check it out. And right now I'm just going to find the best that suits my paper. So I created few because I wanted to have a little bit smaller, because I'm not always working with A4. So this one fits perfectly. I wanted my envelopes to be a little bit more sturdy. So this paper is like a newspaper paper, and it's like a thin but really matte. So I decided before I painted these pages that I'm going to paint on the front and then skip this spread and put more paint on this spread. That way I could glue two sheets of paper together, and I have pretty colors on the front and pretty colors on the back or inside the envelope. Okay, I'm gonna use my glue stick and just glue this paper together. I really like to just glue after, because there is less puckering from the paints. And if you're using watercolors, then I suggest you to really paint the newspaper or papers that you have first. Dry it out, put something on top of it so it's going to weight it down, and then glue pages together, because the result is going to be way better and less wavy. So after you're done gluing the pages together, I know mine isn't dry yet, but I'm going to trace my template onto this paper. And the way I decide which edge I wanna align my template with, I usually go with the straightest edge. Like here you can see I didn't align it pretty nicely, but it's gonna do its job. So I'm going to put my corner, this is the flap that folds over the envelope, so I'm going to put it right here. Sometimes when I have a bunch of papers that I want to cut envelopes out, I use my paper clips to align my template to a paper. And I stack a bunch of papers together. Sometimes I don't even take it out of the magazine, and I just align it. And then I cut this with my X-Acto knife. I have many of them in really quick way. I'm going to use my pencil and just go around and mark. I wouldn't stick more than 3 pages together at one time if you're using scissors. So let me just take this off and cut wherever I put my markings. And now I'm going to fold from one corner to the other. I have a just random ruler here, and I aligned it a little bit below, hopefully you can see, and making the crease. And I'm going to do all around. And like you can see here, it's like still open. You could put a little bit more glue in there because we were rushing. But even if you would put just glue all around where you would cut your envelopes, would be fine as well. If you want to save a little bit of glue stick, I usually put the smaller flaps inside and then just the bigger one on top, and I do put glue here on this one first, like so. And now we've got the envelope. I would probably round this top with anything that I have around. In this case, I have my glue stick top. Just gonna round it a little bit because it looks nicer. I have to say it looks way nicer with rounded flap, like so. And this envelope is ready. Another way how you can make an envelope with a little bit of sewing machine. They're really nice looking, and I just wanted to show you. I'm going to glue 2 pages together. If you don't want to use acrylics or watercolors on your newspaper or magazine pages, you can use them as they are. You can gesso them or you can coffee dye them, and they're gonna be great as well. I'm not very precise with the glue, but I just wanted to glue it down and then take it out of this magazine. This side I really like because it has no images, so I can leave it as it is. And here I have a gap. I'm gonna put a little bit more of the glue, but it's not necessary, like I said. Okay, for this envelope I'm going to do the same as before with the pink one. I'm going to trace the template onto my paper, and I decided to go with a little bit smaller this time. And now this opening here that you can see that I didn't glue it really good. It's on the bottom of the envelope, so whenever you're gonna put in papers inside or whatever you want to, it's not going to interfere. But what I wanted to do with sewing machine now is when you open the envelope up, you can see where the folds are. If you would like to see it even better, I would use some inking on the edges so you know where the edge is, because now that we're going to be sewing on this envelope, I'm going to show you, I will need to see where the edge is because we have to have it open so we can stitch on it. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to be stitching all around this edge, and this is going to create some texture and some interest for this envelope. Let me just stitch it up and I'm going to come back and show you how it looks like. So this is how my envelope looks like now. I had this on the biggest zigzag stitch I could make, and it's 7.0. So as you can see, it's pretty big stitch, and I really love it how it looks like. And now that I'm going to be closing my envelope, it's going to look like this. The other thing you can do is just keep on stitching. You can add a straight stitch all around now, and you can have another row of zigzag stitch. If you have just plain newspaper, you can do the same thing as well with your sewing machine, and it's going to look really special. So this is just the front of the envelope, but what you can do is another thing. So what you can do on the back, you can do the same thing. You can use your sewing machine for the top and the bottom flap that are going to be closing the left and right side. So you could use a zigzag stitch on the edge, and it looks like the envelope was stitched together, not glued. And you can do the same thing for the top flap. You could use a straight stitch or zigzag stitch, whatever you want. I'm pretty sure you could use some really nice stitches as well, because this is now 2 pages and it's like more sturdy. So this is really cool. I did experiment with this technique, like, I don't know, I think last year, but I've never created a video for it. So I made one of the envelopes here. This is a IKEA catalog, 2 pages glued together because the paper is really thin. And what I did is when I had my envelope open, I stitched all around with zigzag stitch, so all the edges are basically stitched. As you can see, like everything is stitched, and I stenciled the paper before I stitched on it, so it has this same pattern all over, and I just use my glue to glue this up. Let's finish this baby. Okay, I added a little bit more glue on the side. Because the top and the bottom are usually the most important, and if you're going to stitch this, you can use less glue and it's going to stay together really good. So gluing the bottom and then putting it like this, and I think I'm going to do the same on this side, just using my glue stick to trace around it to make really nice round flap like this. And now for the finish, I'm going to use my ink and just go around the envelope and the flap. This is my finished envelope, and this is the other finished envelope. I would really love to stitch around this one as well, but now I kind of can't because it's all glued together. But maybe I could open it and do the same thing to it. If you don't have a lot of junk mail envelopes, this is a great way to create your own, and it's a great base to create your art journal out of it. You've probably seen those videos when they stack them together and you create an art journal or just a envelope folder or junk journal. So after creating homemade envelopes, you're gonna be left with some strips. I'm using a lot of regular size paper. So I have 3 here with just what's left from the envelopes. And since these are 2 pages glued together, it's a little bit more sturdy. I wanted to show you another way how to just use these scraps. I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to look where I want to put them together to create another envelope. Really like this up here. Maybe this one here. I think it's going to be something like this. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the end, like a tiny bit of glue, and I'm just going to overlap just a little bit. So they are going to be stuck together. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Usually I use the not so straight edges on the inside, so I can align my template on the straight edge like this. Once you put your strips together, and they are approximately the size of your template, you just stitch with zigzag stitch where 2 papers meet, and that's gonna create the whole different look to the envelope. So it's not really important how many pieces you have stitched and glued together. It's just important that it's big enough for your template. So if you don't want to stitch it, or you don't have a sewing machine, use washi tape, or you can glue it down and do the faux stitching, or you can stamp over it, which is another whole level of making these envelopes that are just beyond cuteness. And now I'm going to just align and trace it out and cut it out, and then I'm going to be back. Okay, now I'm going just to fold this, and then the envelope is going to be finished. I'm done with this one. I'm not gonna stitch any further. I could go all around, but I think this just has enough stitching flair. And the back, let's see how the back looks like. So, bunch of junk mail and one template and a lot of envelopes. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.